Good morning, Mzansi. You are most welcome to this session. It's a very wonderful session, but before I go very far, I need to introduce myself. My name is Zodwa Motsa, and I'm the panelist. I'm one of the people who will be working with you this morning. I'm coming together with the panelists, a very wonderful panelist session that we'll be having. But before we get to that, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to say that it is a wonderful day that today we're celebrating the Human Rights Day, a day where the voices of Mzansi are commemorated, a day where we are saying, let me hear the voice, let me hear the word. I would like to thank the Time of the Writer for arranging this particular session today. And also, I would like to thank all the sponsors, wonderful sponsors, who have made it possible for us to engage with the matter of the word. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, human beings are not anything without the word. So I have good people here who will be discussing this book that we're launching today, a book written by Phindile Dlamini, Dr. Phindile Dlamini, a wonderful, wonderful book. But I'm not going to take away from the panelists who will be discussing with us today. We have Piwani Zulu, and we have Dr. Mokapelo, who is also going to be engaging with this matter today. Mine is just to say, relax, enjoy, and let us hear what Dr. Dlamini, what gold, what diamond, what pearls Dr. Dlamini has given us in the book that we are launching today. Before they come, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say congratulations to you, Phindi. You have done a wonderful job. So this is the way it's going to go, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to ask the panelists one by one to actually present themselves. And then we are going to ask the author, Phindi, to read questions that may be coming through. So I will start with Piwani Zulu. Would you please just introduce yourself, and then the other colleague, Dr. Mokapelo, will also introduce herself. Please come through, Piwani.
Thank you. I am Sylvia Piwani. Most of people know me as TOW, so I'm all those names. Zulu, from Durban University of Technology, where I'm a senior lecturer, and I teach translation, and I am also a curriculum champion, as well as I'm also a professional translator. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from you, Sebolelo.
Molweni colleagues, my name is Sebolelo Mokapelo. I'm Sotho by birth, but I've been socialized and educated and trained in isiXhosa. I am the senior lecturer and the head of Department of African Language Studies at the University of Western Cape. I teach translation studies. I teach onomatics and social linguistics at UWC. I'm also a qualified translator, and I used to work in Parliament as a senior language practitioner responsible for quality assurance of translations isiXhosa to English and from English to isiXhosa. And I'm honored to be part of this session this morning.
Enkosi, siyabulela, siyabonga kakhulu. I think I would like to ask the author to actually just show her face. I think it's very fair that Dr. Dlamini Phindi also greets us this morning as we begin to enjoy the meal that she has cooked for us today. Dr. Dlamini?
Sanibonani, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. And njengoba sekushiwo, my name is Phindile Dlamini. I'm based here at UKZN, and I teach, one of the modules that I teach is translation studies. I am in African languages. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mzansi, we have heard. I wish to beam up the book to you that we're talking about. You may not see it, maybe it's facing down or sideways. This is the gold that Dr. Dlamini has presented us with. It is titled Avoiding Potholes in Translation. Our session this morning is actually to get to know more about the book, but also to congratulate Dr. Dlamini for this wonderful work that she has done. Let me start off with just framing our discussion, but it is open to all of you who are listening to us this morning. We know that translation is a way of mediating understanding between two people who are positioned in two different languages. So translating, not in the mathematical sense, but in the linguistic sense, will allow you, the listener or the hearer, to know better what the other person is saying. Now, this is what Dr. Dlamini is presenting to us, that as you translate from one language to another, there will be potholes. So I want to hear more, maybe starting with Utu. I hope I'm pronouncing your word, your name, Gahle Piwani. I like Piwani. She likes Utu. What challenges have you experienced, in translation and maybe in engaging, and maybe what did Dr. Dlamini teach us in her work? What are the challenges that are encountered in translation? If you can just share with us as one who is actually engaged in the teaching of translation.
Thank you. I just want to first say, because it's a human rights day today that we are celebrating,
Yes.
I just want to inform the audience, or maybe remind them, because maybe they know, that there are people who died for translation. So in those days, the translators did not have rights as we have them today. Maybe we do not have much, but at least we are better off today. There was these two guys, two people, translators, Tinde who was a French scholar, a translator and a printer. He was the first martyr of the Renaissance. Why did he die for translation? He was, he translated and added two words, which can be translated as at all. In a sentence, after a person dies, there is nothing left. He was translating from Greek to French. So after adding those two words, it was felt that he had emphasized too much, and that was regarded as blasphemy. So he was burnt alive. The other one, who's also an extreme case, is William Tinde, who was an English scholar who translated the Bible from the Hebrew and Greek text into English. This one, okay, let me maybe say, his main reason, according to him, was to cause a boy that driveth a plow to know more scripture than the clergy of the day. So the clergy of the day, they were not so much learned, and he wanted to expose them, and he was, that was during the time of, much activity in the Protestants Reformation. So now he was also strangled and burned. So I just want to touch on this. If this was not a virtual presentation, maybe we would rise and observe a moment of silence for those people. Thank you, Zodwa.
Yes, thank you very much, Piwani. In essence, you are telling us that language, politics, and life are actually intertwined. This is what you're telling us. Some people die for transmitting the word through translation. Some ideas are swallowed up in translation. Thank you very much for that introduction. Can we pick your thoughts, Sebolelo, on the matter of translation and what experiences you have, or even if you're drawing from your own experience as a teacher, or maybe in life, as we have heard from Piwani. Can we draw from you, please? Let's hear from you.
Thank you, Zodwa. The book Mamu Dlamini, it came, I think, almost at a perfect time, in our history as a country. And it starts where the frustration of majority of qualified translators begins, where you find that people, of course, within their rights, language practitioners, your linguists, and the purists of the language, seem to be missing, the whole point of the translation exercise. And just to cite an example, the question paper that was written, the preliminary question paper in the Western Cape of the Eastern Cape, the METS question paper that was written in isiXhosa last year. It raised quite a lot of concerns, and to a point where some people argued that the translation that was offered was disrespectful, or the language that was used was disrespectful. And the problem where it starts is because much as we are linguists, some of us are language practitioners, we seem to forget the purpose behind each and every translation exercise. Yes. And that is elaborated, in this book, Dlamini, and something that we all agree on, both translators and teachers of translation and the purists of the language, is that translation is an indispensable key towards broadening the information and also the knowledge, particularly in a linguistically diverse country as ours, that is South Africa. And this affords us an opportunity as well to intellectualize our languages, and also affords the opportunity as well for translanguaging between the two languages. So the language that was used in that question paper was informed by the purpose behind, which most people don't seem to understand. What was the scope was, and what was the target group of the end product. I think that is something that it's a dialogue or a discussion that we need to engage on, so that people, we would give them a name, we would give them a title, matters they're just a language purists, that they are translation, a quality assurers, but we need to extend these skills to them so that they understand exactly what is it that they have to look at or to consider when they are trying to critique the translations that have been given. So before I get into details, Mama, I'll just to give a highlight of what the presentation will be on. That is those issues that we need to focus on. So the book Phindile, it assists in unpacking that. And we're hoping that it's not only the translators and translation teachers that are going to warm up into it. Each and everyone that is working around issues of language will also find this book useful, so that when they critique the translations, they understand where the translator, what was the brief that was given to the translator by the commissioner of the translation, and why they've decided to use a particular language instead of what they know the equivalent of that term is.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, man, you thank you so much. Sebolelo, you bring in a lot of ideas, but what I seem to get from you is advocacy for translation as a tool that assists us to straddle two languages or two cultures, as it were. So that when one takes the purist standpoint, then that kills you know, the access to the information which may be contained in another, in the unfamiliar space. That is what I'm getting from you. And also you are actually sharing with the viewers the fact that Dr. Dlamini has actually attended to those granular challenges that are faced by language practitioners regarding translation. I don't know, let me throw it back to you, the both of you. After you have responded, any of you has responded, we shall actually ask Dr. Dlamini if there are any questions that come from the viewers. I want to ask something regarding the danger of translation as something that may thwart or may suppress indigenous knowledge. This is an example. If, for example, I'm teaching sociology, and the sociology curriculum is written from the perspective of maybe Western epistemologies, for example, Western knowledge base, and then I'm asked to translate that sociology study guide or sociology prescribed book into IsiZulu or IsiNdebele. And then I translate that sociology book into IsiNdebele. The complaint from some people is that this sociology book has been translated into my mother tongue from English, carrying English content. My own content is forever lost because now people are told, here is a sociology book written in IsiZulu, run with it. And yet, i-content yayo, umnyombo wayo, la ncwadi, awuphathanga izimvo nendlela amaZulu enza ngayo izinto. I hope you understand. The content that has been translated is foreign, but the language that carries that content, that foreign content, is familiar. So ngizoba comfortable. You know my language is represented. What do you say to that as translation, looking at translation as a potential killer of indigenization? Any of you, Piwani can come in, Noma Sebolelo.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay.
Okay, go Sibu.
Okay, it's ukuzama to respond to this question. It's there is no one question, I mean, answer that will fit in all the situations. They differ. As we said, the most important thing that we should focus on is the purpose. What is the purpose of this translation? And when it comes to making an example by sociology, of course, that is where cultural adaptation comes in. So this is where you see the skill, say, as a translator corner. How skilled is the translator? Because lapo, as I think, or that I can use, Mamu Dlamini has used exactly that approach, because much as this information is interlingual kind of information adapted from information they are scholars, then yes, she has still written it in English but has brought it home. So she has tried to domesticate the information so that it can appeal using imizekelo ephilayo esiyaziyo yasekhaya. So when it comes to disciplines as a qualified translator, you would know in Dobana, this addresses cultural issues. Therefore, you cannot impose and foreignize that information. You have to domesticate it so that abantu babone imizekelo that appeal. So it goes back to the functional equivalence. Yes. Yes. So it's again gokulondo. A problem in this part is not the translation itself, but the translator. And it's something that also I believe that should be addressed as well using these platforms. Being the speaker of the language or being bilingual does not necessarily mean are a translator or you cannot translate, because there's a lot that goes into translation. They're just taking this information from this language to the other language. There are other issues or other important elements that need to be taken into consideration. That's why ke ngoku uzaba khona leyo question mama Motsa apho abantu they will believe into yobana this translation okanye this is messing up culture yethu ukubone, is writing it off and introducing a culture that is foreign to us as people. But if that task was given to a qualified translator who understands her role as a translator, we would not have such problems and concerns. But also it depends on the nature of the text that you are working with. Njengoba senze umzekelo naleya ye-mathematics, ezinye these are concepts that are foreign to us, asinazo. And then it gives us an opportunity for us to intellectualize languages by introducing these, as it has been done with Afrikaans. Yes, I know most people, they get upset when you make that kind of a comparison, but Afrikaans has developed massively. And if you look at in a given dictionary, it's actually a transliteration. If you look at, because abanayo, therefore let's take this, and it will is quickly click in the people's minds, even though because they've heard it in the English term. Therefore, we are expanding the terminology here too, because except for cases where this is sikwazi ukuthi sifumane opportunity to coin in new terms in our languages that can be used. But uMaMuZulu can also add to
yes. Masizwe Makeba.
Thank you. I just want to come in kulolu daba where, for example, the commissioner of the translation interferes with my translation as a translator. I once translated a book called The History of Ukahlamba into isiZulu. And the author was an anthropologist who understood isiZulu. So our contract then was that whenever I finished the chapter, I would then pass it on to him to edit or to check. Yeah. So in this book, then there was this, anyway, I won't go into the book's details, but I want just to go to the example, because the bone of contention was how I translated narrow escape. There was someone, there was conflict, and there was this reverend that was going to be attacked on a certain night. And he felt people are coming, I don't know how, maybe the sixth sense. So he ran away, and as just as he left his house, then the Amabuto came. And so he had a narrow escape. Now I translated this narrow escape as Wapuma ngesekundwane.
I was thinking of that now.
Right. Yeah. So when the anthropologist read this, or the owner of the book said, there was no Gundan. There is no Gundan in my text. Where is this mouse coming from? There's no Gundan. So I tried I tried to explain that I was trying to give the same impact to the target reader, the same impact that the source reader had by introducing the Ikundan, because this is narrow escape, it's a small hole, so he got out by this narrow hole. So I had to compromise then, because he was going to pay me. He said, no, remove the Kundan, please.
Oh,
so I had to remove the Kundwane and then generalize the text by saying, I want to show off. Wasn't fair?
Oh, yeah. What's in the
You see? Yeah.
Yes. Hey, no, our viewers and fellow colleagues in the industry of the politics of language, you can hear, from the esteemed scholars that translation is not an easy matter. You have to be well positioned in your language, in your people, in your culture, and you must, it's not a matter of speaking the language or a matter of speaking the two languages, the source and the target, but it is a matter of knowing what has been commissioned, the reason you are translating, and also being faithful to the target group to whom you are translating. We've heard both scholars coming forward and sharing with us very, very salient experiences. We are very blessed to have such dynamic young women who are actually holding the bull by the horn in the matter of translation, in the matter of language, society, and our livelihood. I wonder if Dr. Dlamini has any burning question from the viewers that she can read through for my colleagues to respond to. Dr. Dlamini, do you have any
I will call it.
Okay. No, it's fine. I think sihleli angazi ukuthi bathi yini ngesiZulu. Niyabona isiZulu ukuthi it's my acquired language, which I acquired at grade 1. Kahle kahle mina ngikhuluma Swati. But ngiganele emaXhoseni. So I'm the typical Nguni here. What is outstanding is Ndebele. I would like us to maybe, if you can, just talk briefly about the key things that you found in Dr. Dlamini's book, just to share with the readers so that, with the viewers, so that we can actually, from here, actually run to the bookshop and get this book. I've looked at it and I thought, truly, it can't have come at a better time than now. Maybe, I don't know if Dr. Dlamini, you're not supposed to speak. You're not supposed to tell us anything. Ufana no mama obelethe ingane okwamanje uzogcina sisi. Uzoza ekugcineni. I just want us to actually skin this big fat cow that we have slaughtered and let us enjoy. Can we hear if there's anything from my panelists, Uzulu, if there's anything that you have picked up that you would like to actually share with the viewers at this moment, any of you colleagues?
Thank you. Let me take the opportunity first because I'm burning.
Yes.
Starting from the title itself, avoiding the potholes,
Yes.
in translation. Because of course, as we are dialoguing, we see that there are potholes in translation. So we need to avoid them. So this book, it starts with the contract between the commissioner of the translation. It explains about the translation brief because, hey, most commissioners do not give the brief. It is only after you have sinned or you have mistranslated according to him or her that you are told, no, but no, that is not what I expected. So It is very important to understand the brief, that the commissioner gives the brief. If the commissioner doesn't give you the brief, you must probe and ask, but who is this translation going to be for? Who will be the target readership? You know, how much of IsiZulu or if of IsiXhosa must I use? Is it deep IsiXhosa? Is it for a wide listenership or readership? So all those questions you can probe and then find out what the brief is. So understanding the brief is very important. So this book tells us or informs us about the importance of the commissioner, the translator as the service provider, the brief that the translator has to carry, the understanding of this brief. The timelines also are important because some commissioners will say, I want this by tomorrow or by yesterday. They give you the whole 50 pages. But tomorrow you must have finished it.
True.
So it is very important. So this book gives us guidelines on how to do the contract.
Yes,
what I also like with this book, it covers both the theory and practice. Of course, we know that the theory must inform the practice, and the practice must inform the theory. Those two, they work together. What I like also, the sources that she uses are both international and local sources. There have been cries, or there's been an outcry that we don't see South African authors in translation. Besides, this book brings a language combination that our students have been crying for. Most seminal books in translation, you know, they are from authors who are from the UK, like Mona Baker, the Jeremy Mundays, the Saldana Gabriela, from Germany, Christiana Nord, from America, Lawrence Venuti. The list is endless, but where are South African authors? So we are more than happy to have this book giving examples in English and IsiZulu, and it's not going to benefit only IsiZulu speakers. It's going to benefit all the Nguni group, because they are in one, this is a language family. So once they see examples, then they can localize it in their own language, because this is a language family. So it
wonderful.
Just at the time.
Truly wonderful. I agree with you. Sebolelo, can we hear from your side if you have any highlights?
Sibongile ma umama uZulu ukushaya konke okushaya esikhonkosini, kepha what I can add mina nje emphasize on the issue of translation brief, and what I think umama uDlamini bengishilo kuye bangikhuluma ngithi second edition uyafuneka la. Uyafuneka and sizomsupporta ukuthi aze naye. Ukuthi these translation companies as well, which are owned mostly by non-African language speakers, they seem to forget how important preservation and development of our languages are. So they need to be brought in as well, so that they can be made aware of the importance of the translation brief or the translation process as a whole. What has been years ago, they're given a translation. They want to ask too many questions, because in case they upset the client, or rather the commissioner, and bazoqhubeka benze i-translation njengobesho umama uZulu uzobuya kuthi you've sinned, because you were not given guidelines as to what is it that is needed, where you need to trade. And secondly, a practice or even if you're given a translation, mawusiya wayithola brief, uyidemand uyithola brief, ubeso yatsho kulo muntu i-client ukuthi listen, I need to know the person who will be editing this work, because ngifuna uqala ngisebenzisane naye right from the beginning. I think that is one very important element in the translation process, so that nikwazi ukubonisana as you translate. There is a material that we translated for University of Tinde, materials for. I was hoping that he will be here. I don't see him. Dr. Brian Ramadiro at Fort. What I did there, I wanted to know the person who will be editing this work. And then we worked together right from the beginning. The glossaries are available. They are being used, they are in circulation. And we agreed on terms. And we had sometimes heated kind of debates on the terms. Let us agree. Why do we say that? I'm saying this based on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we ended up agreeing, because even a negative impact even on the translator, especially xa umuntu engazuyazi into yobana what has informed this kind of a decision in the translation element. So leyo ke ingena phaya kuleyo chapter 3 where role players in the translation context mama Phindile. And also sizeke kokunda kule culture, I think also touches on what the previous question you had on us. The books that have been translated ezinye are classics, ezinye are the books that we rely on for indaba as a culture. We always go and use them as a resource when we want to remind ourselves about our cultural practices and norms and stuff like that. And there is other people, people that we seem not to take into consideration because we believe that they are not learned, they are there at home. I make use of those people quite a lot. Even the Klabesi translator, the Inazika astrophysics, Inazika materials for the Department of Astrophysics at UWC, but specifically for students that are still in high school to sensitize them about this field of study. I used in my elders back at home and other people that I know, okay, what do you call this? Star, they give you the background. So in translation, I give the word term, then I give the whole background. So now you are exposing them even to the culture behind naming practices of these the stars that are found in that field. So she has touched on those things, Umama Payana, and even idioms of the culture 10 and all those things. So in just broadening it further, also to give the background, but sometimes yes, it makes sense, but I still have questions as to how did you come up with this? So the book is not just giving us information and this practice translation of the field closer home, but it reminds us also about who we are. It's actually defining us. It's given us an opportunity to define us instead of being, because now when we've been defined. Of decolonizing the scope. And of Latina, we're very critical, especially the Nguni cluster of languages. Abantu, they get so upset. No, that's a Zulu word. No, that's a Xhosa word. We are Gunis. We are a family. And borders, they're closer to the borders and the dialogues which are not taken into consideration. So for as long as it makes sense, why must we fight? Why must we argue? Whereby she was born waya emaXhoseni, waya maZulu, zonke ziyasebenza. So every now and again those languages will manifest in your writing. Therefore, e-writing yakho should not be disqualified just because you used a dialect yesiZulu instead of a dialect yesiXhosa, instead of a dialect yesiZulu, and even of isiHlubi and isiMpondo or isiBhaca. Ngoba ezo zinto there, ezo languages.
Yeah. Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Ungathi Dr. Dlamini has a few questions to ask. Briefly, we've heard that commercialization sometimes plays a game when we are translating, and it is important that you get the brief from the person who is commissioning the translation, and you must understand the terms of engagement. You must be very, very clued up as a translator. Dr. Dlamini, can you just pose the questions from the audience, please, so that we can quickly attend to them from the side of the panelists? Can we hear the questions?
Okay, it says it's not a question, but more of a comment. Just yesterday, when Isilo Samabandla Sichalwa, Western media kept on saying he was being blunted, leaving non-Zulu speakers confused. What can be done when a direct translation does not make sense?
Thank you. Do you have a second question? If you have, so that we
Yes,
just
I
take
do.
two and then we request the panelists to respond.
All right, and then
Okay,
the other one is,
proceed.
do you think translations enhance the process of intellectualization of African languages? If so, how can we valorize this important discipline across our universities? Singawakhulisa kanjani umsebenzi wabahumushi emanyuvesi ikakhulukazi uma sibheke izinsizakusebenza esesinazo? And then the third one is just a comment. Siyabonga kuhle ukuthekela kwezinye zezilimi zomdabu ngaphambi kokudlulela kwezinye. So there's actually two questions.
Siyabonga.
That one is a comment, yeah.
Yes. Any take, colleagues, on these two questions? The one about direct translation. Yes. Okay. Proceed, please.
Ngiyabonga. Iyashupha kakhulu i-direct translation. Angazi kodwa ukuthi nginayo yini impendulo right now. Ngoba nami I was looking at the TV, hearing this direct translation, and you cannot just respond there and there. Maybe it's up to us as translation lecturers to correct this in our classrooms, to because we find this more than, you know, we see this all the time. For example, also in signage, I've seen this. I saw a sign saying no alcohol, utshwala. That is a direct translation. You can see that actually it was meant to say utshwala is not allowed, alcohol is not allowed. So when the translator saw no alcohol, I said, so then people, because this is at the entrance of the beach, so people thought, no. So it means we must go and buy and bring the beer, because there's nothing. Instead of the translator, so izinto kumele sizicorrect emaklasini sisafundisa, noma wherever there are forums to train the translators, to make them aware that we need to get away from that. Maybe to come to, okay.
The second question. Oh, you want Sebolelo to take the second question? You can go with it. She will add her own views.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to say, I think the second question was, does translation enhance the intellectualization of the indigenous languages? I'm glad that right now in KwaZulu-Natal, there is collaboration between the universities, the UKZN, the DUT, MUT, and UniZul. Right now, there is a project that has been funded by NISS. So it's on. So I would answer it best at the end of November, because it's a process. So, but I can see it's going to happen. Thanks.
Yeah, bon. Thank you very much, Makeb. Sebolelo, do you have something to add to these questions that have been raised, or comments that have been raised?
Ukwangeza nje ngaxela kulokho uMamZulu bese kushilo ku question 1 lo we literal translation. I think it goes back, le ncwadi is going to assist them quite a lot, because laphaya kuthethwa nge-analysis of the source text. I-analysis of the source ikunika all the information ukuthi isuke laphi in the background. And it goes back also to the role you translate. When you don't understand, you're not clear, then you go back, okay, give me more information on this. Isukapi, give me the background. You understand? Then also understand ukuthi makuthiwa isilo siyatshalo asincwatshwa ukusho ukuthini, what is the meaning behind that. Then izakwazi kube lula ukuthi yena I-adapt ke ngokuthini ngokwale language yakhe esingisi. So that's where we miss izinto. That's where these potholes zisuka khona ukuthi some people are just given translate and then akayazi ukuthi funeka ndibuyele back. Even sometimes, even when we're given a brief, they will come in and say, you will come across ezinye izinto apho ufuna ukuthi no man, this is not clear. It is within your rights as a translator to go back commissioner ubuze kahle, okay, ngicacisele, because la I get it's ambiguous as far as I'm concerned. So I need into yobana ndiyibeke into context, ukubona contextualize it, then you can be able to do that. So if you are not a trained translator, and you don't respect the practice as well, you will end up just giving whatever you think this means, without understanding. Now, coming back to the intellectualization of indigenous languages, yes, university.
Yes.
I think starting from even with basic education, njengoba Eastern Cape beseyizamile ukwenza, uyabona, there will be hiccups here and there, there will be problems here and there, but the onus is on all of us within the Naziki field, Naziki Yama languages and translation, to work together now ukuze size nento ephathekayo, efundekayo, eyamkelekayo. And it's a pity that amanyuvesi wethu phansi onke, they've got language policies, but they don't adhere to that. They don't implement. Uzothola ukuthi it's only individual departments, like we've done a University of Western Cape. It was just, it's more like a project between our department and the Department of Astrophysics, and then the Department of Chemistry and the Department of Information Sciences. But it is very important that universities take a decision to make all the resource materials available in indigenous languages. Because as it is now, our languages are still minority languages in terms of usage.
Yes.
And yes, status are still there as minorities because are not used to access information or to transfer information and all those things. So this thing of translating all these resource materials, it offers that opportunities to change the status, and our languages become majority languages. Because as it is now in South Africa, there are only two majority languages in South Africa, English and Afrikaans. Even though those languages are spoken by the minority in terms of numbers of people in South Africa. So it is, I think now the universities must not be given an option, because as it is, Tinde, we're not even funded. We don't have funding, but we're doing it because we feel the need. And in students, they're underperforming, not because they have a low IQ, but it's because the language that is being used is limiting for bona. So I'm hoping some assist the person that responded to that question, but it's very important that this thing is enforced in all the institutions. And even if students but decide to and also introduce this in Neville Alexander, why was a mother tongue based bilingual education. So that is something that should be embraced, even in as education sectors, basic education and higher education, because yes, students and learners perform at their utmost best.
Yes, it's a heated debate which talks to the access to information through a language that you understand best, and the way in which we can make our indigenous languages of science, research, and information, and manners. I mean, several ways in which we can make sure that our languages do not remain minority and yet they are majority languages. Looking at the language policies, because that is where it begins, and looking at making sure that we have people who are trained, people who are schooled in these, and making sure that we respect the idiom. We respect, because each language has its own idiom. I really would like to join all the people who are saying congratulations, Dr. Dlamini. You have done a marvelous job, and we cannot even begin to explain the joy that we feel for this particular achievement that you have made. Colleagues, we are moving closer to the end of our session, and I would like to ask if Dr. Dlamini has anything to share with us. I know the matter of direct translation really hurt me, Izolo. I come from the other royal family, Yaseswazini, and I know that we do not explain ourselves at all. People will mess up and say this and that, but our protocol is that it's Yatula, because we know best. And maybe sometimes we don't even want to reveal some of these things when they misrepresent certain things around the monarchy. Siyabonga Dlamini awusitshele ke nomdayi. I call her Umsomi. Mamsom, please just share with us your highlights in this. I've seen idiom meeting idiom in Sandran Yasengome in your book. Can you just share with us? This is a very wonderful moment for us. Just one or two highlights before I thank the panelists and the audience.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu, Prof. Thank you very much, my sisters. I'm actually humbled, and I just cannot believe this has brought up such a debate, because I'm just feeling that this is actually a movement. This is a beginning of a movement, and from here we just have to move on, keep on pushing until we get to a level where we believe that we have arrived. Our own languages are on par with all the other languages of South Africa, because on paper, they are official languages, but when it comes to practice, we are still lagging behind. So there's quite a lot of questions here, and the other questions on the chat, others are coming through from Facebook. I don't know, because I don't think we do have time to attend to all these questions. Maybe the time of the writer will tell us how we can respond outside maybe this meeting, this session. And there's also another question or a comment where someone is asking, when can we get a book? When can we see a book that translates African metaphors without losing its essence in the translation? I think our panel members have put it out there beautifully that this is the first book and definitely not the last. So it means, as I'm saying right now, that this is actually a movement. So I see us as scholars, as translation scholars, collaborating from all the corners of South Africa and bringing more books, because we do have a significant number of articles that are written on translation studies. But I think beyond the articles, we have to produce books. And that we can only do if we collaborate. My vision from here going forward is to make sure that our second book incorporates all the languages, all the indigenous languages of South Africa. Let's just look at the potholes, because each language, unfortunately from now, we're drawing from English into our indigenous languages. There will come a time where we'll also draw from each other, because that is also important. But what I would like us to do as scholars of translation studies is to have volumes of books where we actually draw, maybe the first one could be just checking the potholes now from all the other indigenous languages of South Africa, and that is going to be our volume 1. And then we move on, because this is a movement, but we have to move together. The panel members have indicated that this book just addresses the fundamentals, but the debate goes on. So having said all that, actually my job was to thank everyone who contributed in bringing this book to life. So in a nutshell, I would first like to thank the publisher, UKZN Press, and the team, Sally Hines in particular, for making this happen. I would also like to thank my dean, Professor Nobuhle Hlongwa. Thank you so much for all the support and encouragement. Ekugcineni iphelile incwadi, Mhlongwa, ngiyazi usuzobuza ukuthi iphe yesibili, so usuzweleke Prof ukuthi Ziyaza. We just need support and encouragement from you. I would also like to thank my students because it is it is from the engagement with the students in our seminars that actually showed me, like it broadened my scope and showed me that there are many more potholes, and most of them I was able to draw and pull them into this book.
Yeah.
I've walked this path and I just cannot forget UNISA, my UNISA crew. I cannot forget the DOT crew, as well as the UKZN crew, where I still am, and all my friends in academia from different institutions, locally and abroad. I just want to say thank you for all the support, for all the insights, for all the discussions that helped give birth to this book. And Fafu, there in China, I will be back. Bangani bami nonke, thank you for your unwavering support. Abanye bebesho bethi hey thina phinde sijaha ukulontsha incwadi. Even that was encouraging me and supporting me. And I just want to say, Kate and Mark Freeman, you are phenomenal. I am grateful. Ziz Jamagasjad. No man, Lungolash, the feeler of all the potholes that cross my path. Umenjalo Jam. My family, amazizi onke namandai, sisi sikaMangcobo ngokukhethekile ngiyabonga. Baba Simakade ngonyama yezulu siyabonga. Thank you so much, Prof.
Wow.
And I can see that the questions are just going on and on.
Yes, it's very humbling. Msomi, very humbling. You will pardon me, colleagues. I call him Msomi. That's how I've always known her from way back when we were very young and more beautiful than now. At UNISA, in the whatever, I think in the 90s and so on. From our side, Phindile, we salute you. This speaks you as I know you. This book is actually you as I know you. Congratulations, my dear sister, my little sister. We have a long journey to go as practitioners. And as you say, this is the beginning of a movement, and we are all behind this movement because a nation without its own language is a dead nation. I often say when I drive transformation and linguistic justice at the University of South Africa, this is about centralizing African languages, because the world is the poorer without this grand civilization of the Bantu, of the Nguni, of the Basotho. It is a poorer civilization. As we embrace the Chinese, as we embrace the British, the German, the Spaniards and so forth, those civilizations are poor without our own. So we want to evince and we want to centralize African languages in all its might, in all its formations. I salute you, Phindi. I really do. And we are here for this movement. I would like to ask the panelists each to just say one parting shot as we move towards closing this session. I can start with you, Sebolelo, and then uMageba uzogcina ngoba uyabona uMageba nguMageba. Sebolelo.
Ke leboha mme haholo ka o fumana monyetla ona wa hore ke kopane le lona ke tlo bua le lona ka tsela ena. And this has been a valuable information sharing session for me, and I'm happy to see in the participants that there are quite a number of people, also others from government, others in higher positions in our institutions. I think it should be, like Phindi said, a movement that starts with people that can talk to the powers that be, to enforce, the realization of multilingualism in our education institutions, both basic and higher education and training. in ensuring that, all learners and students, they access information in the languages of their choice. And also, being part of this circle as well, it motivates me, and making me realize that this is possible. We can do this. And now that we've started, we must not stop, as Mama Phindile Dlamini has said. I've seen someone there was complaining that why are we using Mamu Dlamini and Mamu Motsa instead of professor and whatever. This is who we are. Colonization has made us to be so caught up in these references, but for us, the respect is more on, the cultural references that we use. So this also affords us a platform to go back to our indigenous knowledge systems, how we do things as people, and I apply those also in this field that we are gathered here for. So ngalowo mazwi ngibonge kakhulu kuMama Dlamini ukuthi angicabange abone ukuthi cha nami mandla ngakhona ukuthi ngizophotsa itshe kulesi sivivane. Ngibonge kakhulu nakuMama Zulu, ngibonge kakhulukazi kuwena Mama Motsa ukuthi usiguide through this debate. It has been quite a journey for me, a learning journey that is going to contribute a lot towards my own, development as an academic in the field. Ngibongile, hyperpatry.
Makeba isingawe.
Hayi,
Siyabonga kakhulu Sebolelo.
ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much.
Ngibone ngathi nje sengiyayona nje lento. Usibu usayisho yonke, akungabe nje ngidlala ngesikhathi. Ngiyazi ke nokho, uDr. Dlamini, njengoba ethi nje this is just the beginning. Usho ngempela kadlali ngiyamazi. And sometimes I wish ngingaqasha nje, ngimqashele. But hey, even at midnight, you wanna go WhatsApp, hey, njalo. The show is on. Hey, this one. Ngakho-ke bandla siyabonga kakhulu ukuba ingxenye yale panel. Siyabonga kakhulu. Nokusifaka nje ey'ntweni bandla siyabonga. Ajwayele as African women ukuthi sizokhuluma iy'ndaba ezibaluleke kangaka. Thank you ever so much.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it would be amiss of us women who are here today for not sharing with you the fact that today we are celebrating Human Rights Day, and in remembrance of the fact that our forefathers died for this freedom that we have today. As we commemorate this day, we remember that many people died just to say, please recognize me. I am human, I count. It wasn't the first one. It had been many wars that had been fought before by the South African cohort of the Black population. We do not want to emphasize division, but we want to say, the right to speak your language, the right to be heard in your culture, the right to be respected in your own culture through your own way of doing things is actually what Mama Phindile is doing here today. She is actually fighting for the same right that everybody has been fighting for. So we continue. We will not stop. We will not falter. We continue to say that linguistic justice in the pre-primary level is important, and cultural justice are important. I would like to thank Time of the Writers and all the sponsors, and also thank all the universities, the scholars that have been standing behind this kind of an initiative. And I also want to support Dr. Dlamini that this is just but the beginning. More is coming, a lot is coming. And phambili ke ngani bafundisi belizwi in whatever formation, phambili kinina nonke siyabulela kakhulu. I will defer this moment back to Ishmael and to actually guide us through. Thank you very much.